Everybody's talking about mental health, and so am I. On Let's Talk with Kris Roc, I sat down with Tiana, and Tiana shared her story of depression, suicide. You know, everyone's talking about it. So I think it's important that you hear it and share it with someone else. Everyone has someone going through mental health. I know I do, and I'm sure you do too. So tune in and to find out how she overcame her obstacle on Let's Talk with Kris Roc.
You want to be a slacker for the rest of your life?
I am Kris Roc.
Let's talk.
I am Kris Roc.
Let's talk.
I am Kris Roc.
Let's talk with Kris.
I am Kris Roc.
Let's talk.
I'm Kris Roc.
Let's talk. Kris Roc. Let's talk. It's Kris Roc. Let's talk. Let's talk. Let's talk. Let's talk about it. Let's talk. It's Kris Roc. Let's talk.
Hi, welcome to Let's Talk. I'm your host, Kris Roc, and today my guest is Tiana Robinson, and our topic today is going to be single parents. She was raised by a single parent, and she is a single parent, and we're going to talk about all the struggles and the good times that come with that. So welcome, Tiana. Thank you for joining me.
Hello.
So let's start by your childhood. Tell me how it was growing up.
I grew up with a single mom. My father was in my life. We went there every other weekend with our dad. I have other brothers and sisters, so that was good. There's a lot of things that you just have to pick up the slack, if you want to call it, so to say. You go in there and you just do what you got to do. And I can say that now, but going back, I didn't realize that was the mindset, but I was just doing it.
Well, how many brothers and sisters do you have?
So in my household, it was growing up around. It was my two brothers and me, and I do have my dad has a total of 6 kids.
Okay. So it was you, your mother,
and my two brothers.
And two brothers.
They're younger than me. I am the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, I don't know, clockwork. I had my own line, which was good, but it was for my mom to call me to say, hey, get up, get ready for school, get my brothers and stuff together. And yeah, it was times where maybe I didn't want to do it because I was whatever, but ultimately, it was our lives.
So your mom would call you? She was at work?
Yes, my mom worked overnight.
So she would call you and rely on you to get up when she called.
Yes.
And then you're responsible for getting your brothers up and dressed?
Yes. And then make sure we all get to school.
At what age was that?
I probably was doing that since like about 8th grade.
So how was your relationship with your father, bro?
My dad was my dad. So when you say that, you say that's my dad. Like, he was the scapegoat most times.
Were you daddy's little girl?
I wouldn't call myself daddy's little girl. I would say I'm my father, and that is more or less, my dad. Like, you know how like he's like, oh, that's dad. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean? But ultimately, as you grow in life and you become a parent and have children, you start to see that role, what was played and what you see, what you know it to be, what it's supposed to be.
It's a little different.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, as a teenager, how did that affect your relationship with guys and dating and stuff like that?
Okay, so I will say, I did not realize the effect of fatherhood on my life until I was older. Mm-hmm. So that is maybe because I couldn't acknowledge even that part, because I just kind of like, you just get through. I don't know. When I was growing up, I kind of just went through. I knew what I had to do. I just did it. I knew what I wanted.
So you went through the emotions though. Were you really feeling it though? What was your emotions? How were you feeling? Were you vulnerable? Were you...
Regardless, I'll say this. I turned to guys for love. Mm-hmm. And whether or not it was... Ultimately, now I can sit back and say it was a lot of bit of things. Mm-hmm. Rejection, fatherhood, being raised in a single mom, not understanding sometimes what their role is to have a man in your life.
Right. So
that's, outlook too for anybody, but I love my dad. So that's why I was like, that's my dad. Right. You know what I mean? Right. So like, that's just, and I think as kids, that's just what you do. You go naturally to do. Even inside when you could feel those feelings, because as I gained in where I'm at now, I can go back and know what all those feelings were and why I had those feelings.
So you can relate and identify where your feelings came from
Yes.
when you were younger.
And that's why I understand that, like, nowadays, the household is everything.
Yeah. Well,
And-
family is everything.
Yes. But
So when did you become a single mother? How old? At what age?
So, got pregnant at the end of my senior year. And to be honest with you, I had mixed feelings about that. I knew in my heart that I would ultimately have someone that would love me for me. So, that being said, anything that anybody else had to say kind of went out the window, and I kind of like was determined for me. It's mine.
So it didn't matter what anyone said about you being pregnant. You knew that having this baby, you would finally have somebody to love you for you.
Yes.
And that's why you went with having a baby. So how many children do you have?
I do have 3.
3?
Yes, I
Okay.
do. I have a 17-year-old, which is a girl. My first one was a girl. And then the other 2 are boys, which is 12 and 9.
Oh, okay. Okay. Now, what about their father?
So, what's so funny about this? So, as a single mom, I feel like I'm like that Jack in a box. I got 3 situations. So, I do have 3 different, children's fathers, which at a time in life that burdened me until I realized who I was. So, it's not a burden.
So what was the burden now? The burden was depending on him always
the burden was the judgment, the statistics, the outlook, the everything that comes behind that. People judge you nonstop, 24/7. I could walk down the street, but you just judge. But I have 3 situations. So with my daughter, a co-parent, which is excellent, and that's where I also see fatherhood, because I see her dad. He is in her life since day one, and she's a girl. Girls need that.
Yes,
Need that. And then what happened is I seen it through my daughter. So to live that and to see that change that I didn't have was just like, thank you, God. Yeah. Thank you. You've done it. Like, and regardless of our relationship, we raised a great, child. And it's like, he does the things that men are supposed to do in your life. So women look for a guy to make sure you get your nails done, your hair done. She has never, ever, I've never had to pay for that in life.
Oh, wow.
Ever. He makes sure she gets that. So in terms of me saying that, that goes back to the love that you won't search for.
Right. If you're getting it as a child, you're getting nurtured and you're feeling that love.
But that's where the difference between, that's my dad and fatherhood.
That's a good analysis.
Difference.
And your son's father?
My son's father, okay. So that's another situation. So the 12-year-old, his dad got killed 10 days after his first birthday.
Oh, wow.
Suddenly. But I'm so glad I can even say that without, tearing up.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. That's a great thing.
That's hard knowing that his father's not there forever. It's not that he can get himself together and come back to the scene. He's permanently gone. So how did you deal with that, and how is your son dealing with that now?
So how did I deal with that? When it all happened, it happened so sudden. It was December, it was a snowstorm, and he just happened to just say, I'm going to come over with y'all. We piled up at my dad's house. My brother's friends was there. We all was there. It's like, not a party, but we were all, that's what we did. My family's just like that. We just hang out, and that's just what we did. So then we stayed, and then took him back. His friend came down, dropped him back off. And then now on my phone, my mom and them are calling me, and I'm just like, oh, and they're like, yeah, he got shot. And I was on the phone, and I'm just like, oh. So then my friend I was on the phone with, she started saying, I'm going to call the hospitals and stuff like this. It's like, all right. So I was like in a state of shock, and I was at my dad's house, and I was just there. And then my mom called. When she said what she said, she could just confirm it for me, and I just was like, what can you say? Yes, I was shocked. And I think I lived in shock for 5 years. And I'm saying 5, but it was a little longer than that. But, so then he was Muslim. So with their turnaround rate, he would go in the ground within 48 hours. So, you don't really get that much to move on or anything like that. So it was just like my life had changed. And then it was just like, the thing is, I never accepted it. Not until a couple years ago.
So you were walking around in denial. How did you function though? I mean, you just found out that your son's father was murdered. They buried him 48 hours later, so you really didn't get the chance to really absorb or take in everything that happened. He's buried now, and you have his son. How do you continue? How do you go on? What helped you? What motivated you to keep going?
Single mom.
Did
Gotta do what you gotta do.
I heard
It's no
that.
other,
Yes.
like, you know, it's nothing more, nothing less. And I'm a determined workaholic person, and honestly, I try to, like, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I've learned to balance it.
Mm.
I can go hard and do all these things and block out a lot of things.
So you were functioning without emotion.
In certain,
That's what it sounds
yes,
like.
when I had to be a mom, because you got, it's certain things that you have to do in life, and I know that I've learned to stop saying that so freely and taking that for granted, because there's a lot of people that don't do what I'm saying. Oh, it's supposed to be done. That's just something that is a natural instinct.
Right.
Single mom.
Well, for
You know, for me,
all
so that's what I had to realize. That's why it's like, then that's where you take the Percocet.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised that way, so now becoming a single mom, you kind of got one edge up. If you think about it, when you were going through it, I wasn't thinking that.
That is true.
So it's like a little different.
So, all right, dealing with that, going through the motions, living your life. Didn't you go to college?
I did.
So how did that come about?
Okay, college came about. Now I had another kid now at this before I went to college. I had another kid. That situation was ended to domestic violence. And that's why I said I had 3 different situations. So there is now, it's like, you can't see us, you know, one to see you. And then it's like, so, you know, it left me with a lot of questions on parenting too.